안녕하십니까. 글로벌 모니터 안근모입니다. 트럼프 행정부 관세 정책이 미국 경제에 미치는 영향에 대해서 제롬 파월 미국 연방준비제도 의장이 알 수 없다, 불가지론을 고수했습니다. 정책 방향과 효과가 충분히 파악된 뒤에 가서 후행적으로 통화정책에 반영하겠다는 방침을 파월 의장은 재확인했습니다. 파월 의장은 상원 반기 보고에서 관세가 얼마나 지속적일지, 얼마나 클지에 관해서도 아직 알 수 없는 상태라면서 이렇게 말했습니다. 보고 모두 발언에서 파월 의장은 금리 인하를 서두를 필요가 없다는 기존 입장을 재차 천명했습니다. 노동시장에 대한 우려가 작년 여름 이후로 상당히 줄었다고 밝히고 인플레이션은 지난 2년 동안 상당히 누그러졌으나 여전히 좀 고조돼 있는 상태라고 평가했습니다. 시장 장기 국채 금리에 대해서는 언제 하락하게 될지 알기 어렵다고 말했습니다. 연준 정책뿐만 아니라 미래의 인플레이션, 정부 부채 등 여러 요인에 대한 투자자들의 예상에 따라서 장기 국채 금리가 변화한다고 설명했습니다. 재정정책을 둘러싼 문제에 대해서 파월 의장은 예산이 지속 불가능한 경로에 있다는 것 말고는 연준은 언급하지 않는다고 말했습니다. 국채를 매수하는 투자자들이 많이 존재하는데 앞으로 예상되는 국채 공급을 분석해서 가격에 반영한다고 덧붙였습니다. 파월 의장 의회보고 주요 장면을 준비했습니다. 함께 보시죠.
So I've also heard from businesses in Arizona, they're concerned about the threat of economic stability in tariffs that are imposed on our key U.S. trade partners. How should we expect prices to move for basic items like tomatoes, peppers, cars, and the like if we place a 25% tariff on Mexico next month as the president has threatened?
So as you know, we don't do tariff policy and we don't do commentary on tariff policy. Just generally, when somebody's got to pay the tariff, and it can be the exporter, it can be the importer, it can be a middleman, and it can be the consumer. For it, somebody does, but in some cases it doesn't reach the consumer much. In some cases it does, and it really does depend on facts that we haven't seen yet.
But that also contributes to some of the calculations on inflation overall.
It can, but
it's hard to predict.
There's a question of how persistent that would be and how large it would be.
In the past 5 years alone, the national debt has exploded. Federal spending and the debt have increased by more than 50%. Debt held by the public, or true debt obligation, has more than tripled during the past 15 years, reaching more than $28 trillion. All told, U.S. national debt is now over 120% of our GDP. I'd like to ask you about the national debt and the cost of financing it. We now spend more to service the debt annually than we do on national defense. So how concerned are you about the accelerating pace of government borrowing and the borrowing cost, which will affect families in the form of higher mortgage rates?
Yeah, we don't comment on fiscal policy other than to say that, as my predecessors have said, that the U.S. federal budget is on an unsustainable path. It's not that the level of spending or the level of the debt itself is unsustainable. It's that the path is unsustainable, and ultimately the level of the debt will be. So there's no time like the present to start working on this. The longer we wait, the more painful it will be. It's something we need to do and will have to do in the long run, and the short run is better than the long run for that.
And just as a practical matter, how do you factor that into your policy thinking and decisions?
We don't. We're here to achieve maximum employment and price stability, and it's really up to Congress to deal with fiscal issues. And we leave that to you.
Because of that national debt, it's caused the supply of U.S. Treasuries needed to finance the debt to skyrocket, and that's at the same time the Fed is shrinking its holdings of Treasury through quantitative tightening. So the question is, or could you at least give us some insight into the impact that this is having on the Treasury market as investors must absorb that supply? And in particular, I'm interested in how the biggest holders of U.S. Treasuries, how their behavior is changing as debt increases.
This is a real Treasury question, but I think from our standpoint, I can say that there are lots of buyers for Treasuries, but Treasury buyers are going to be factoring in their assessments of the supply that's coming, and that may be part of the reason why the term premium has increased, as you know, over the course of this year. Although, you know, the rates have been going up and down lately. They're almost back to where they were before the election.